Ah, good day. The new EMI filter has arrived. Check this out. Welcome to 3D Accuracy, where I'll talk about 3D printing, 3D product design, and 3D injection and die-cast mold design. There we go. There's the new part on the right. Just came a little while ago. Exactly the same as the old one. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to take this bracket off the old one, put the bracket on the new one, and then these wires here, have to make sure we get those correct. So the green ground goes on that one terminal in the center. That one is by itself. The brown wire goes to the second terminal on the right. The dark blue wire goes on the terminal second from the right, and the black wire goes on the terminal on the right. So there's my documentation as far as what wire goes where. So I make sure I get it correct when I move it over to this guy. Then what I'll do is put that fella in, put it in, flip it up, because the connections are on this other side here that come through the terminals that come through the PC board here. And there's a couple of nuts that screw to this once it's through the housing here. Okay, so not a terribly difficult job. Shouldn't take any more than 10 or 15 minutes to put that in there and get it back in the machine. Then I can go ahead and maybe after lunch we'll turn it on, see if we can get it to work. There we go. New parts already installed. Didn't take long at all. Just had to make sure I had the connections correct, and then first I put that bracket on the bottom of the part, made sure I had the connections right, transferred them over onto the new part, flipped it around up the other way, pushed it up in there, and then secured it with the screws. And there's Allen screws here holding the bracket that holds the EMI filter. So now what I have to do is go ahead and turn on the machine, and we'll retest the electricity. And what we're looking for is 230 volts from here to here, from A to B, 230 from A to C, and 230 from B to C. And of course that's plus or minus 5%, so anywhere from 219 volts, 219 to 241.5 will work. And then this is the ground. We'll check from A to the ground, B to the ground, C to the ground, and we should have somewhere between 100 and 100 and... how much was it? It was 100 and 160 volts. And before, with the old part, we were getting 214, 214, 217. So that tells us that this part here got cooked. Something's no longer functioning well with this guy. So that's why we had to put the new part in. So I'm going to go grab some lunch, and then after that, let's fire this guy up. Now that the new EMI filter is installed, it's time to turn on the machine, see if we can get it running. After I turn it on, I'm going to check the voltage one more time back here at the terminal connector, just to make sure we have the right voltage coming from the transformer. I'm sure we do. I'm sure it should be okay, but I want to check it just to be sure, just to be safe. Okay, so let's fire her up. Press the start button. Three-phase motor across the shop comes on. Panel's working. Now let's flip the circuit breaker. Oh, and when I was working on that before and putting that EMI filter in and doing all that stuff, I unplugged this cable that goes to the transformer, so the machine was getting no electricity at all over here while I was busy doing that, working on that stuff. I just plugged this back in. Of course, this wasn't on, so it shouldn't be feeding electric, but just as a precaution, I just broke the connection. Okay, so anyway, let's flip the circuit breaker here. Okay, I can hear the transformer humming. Now let's go check the voltage over here. Make sure we have proper voltage before we flip this circuit breaker in the back. All right, let's see if I can do this here with one hand while I hold the camera. Okay, DC voltage, set it to AC voltage. All right, we'll stick this guy here and let's check connectors. Let's see if I can do this with one hand while I... All right. Come on. There we go. 233 volts from L1 to L2. L1 to L3. 244 and a half. Okay. From L2 to L3. 247. Okay, slightly more than the other day. 241 and a half is a good voltage to have. So we're a few volts higher than we should be, but close enough to being within range that it's worth going on, because once there's a load on the system, those voltages will drop. So I'm counting on that. That's what the experts tell me, the people who made the three-phase converter, that those voltages are going to drop. So let's move on to the next step, flip that circuit breaker, and then check the voltages on the new EMI filter that we just installed. Okay, so we'll flip this circuit breaker here. That'll provide power to everything else downstream. Okay, now that little light doesn't come on. I don't know if that's necessary to check voltages. I'm going to see if there's voltage there or not first. But when I flip this switch right here, then that will bring the battery into the system, and that's when that little red light comes on. So let me see if there's voltage at those connections before I do that. Just want to check and see. All right. So, strangely enough, there is. Okay. So we connect there. We have 233.3 from A to B. A to C. This is the one, C. It's a little tricky to make this connection over here. Okay, 245. That's okay. We're just a couple of volts above 241. Up, come on, get on there. Okay, and from B to C, 247 and a half. All right, so not perfect, slightly above, but acceptable. Now we'll check from the A to the ground. We have 117, 116 and a half. B to the ground. B to the ground. Come on. B to the ground. 116. C to the ground. 219. Did not change. 220. Did not change. Something else is wrong. Something else is wrong. Almost $900 for that part with tax and shipping. I was hoping that's what it was and that was going to fix it, but we still have a bad voltage in there. I'm wondering if it's something else on this board. Time to make a phone call, I guess, huh? Okay, just talked to Stratasys, and what we're going to do is take this EMI filter, this new one, out of the machine, put the old one back in. Apparently there's nothing wrong with it, and then they were gracious enough to accept this part back so I could send it back to them. So that's what's on the agenda. We're gonna put the old one back in here, send them back the new one, and then decide what else to try from here. Need to scratch our heads. Everybody's trying to think, you know, what can be done. So one step at a time. So I'm going to do that. You don't need to watch me do that. Pull that thing out of there. It's not going to look much different. Just the other part's going to be in there instead. Okay, so let me get at that so I can get that done today. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you're ever in need of 3D product design, 3D injection mold design, 3D die-cast mold design, or 3D printed prototypes or production parts, please feel free to contact me. You can find contact information in the video description. I look forward to hearing from you and to being of service to you. Thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate it. See you on 3D Accuracy's next video.